The American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My country, 'tis of thee. Sing it out. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Good, they pledge to the Christian flag. I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands. One Savior, crucified, risen, and coming again, with life and liberty to all who believe. Onward, Christian soldiers. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Christ the royal master leads against the foe, forward into battle, see his banner. Let me hear you now, sing it out. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. The pledge to the Bible. I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word. I will make it a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will hide its words in my heart, that I might not sin against God. The B-I-B-L-E. You ready? The B-I-B-L-E. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The B-I-B-L-E. Good singing. Let's bow our heads and ask God for His blessing on this Thursday. Lord, thank you for these boys and girls, mothers, fathers, grandparents, and friends here. We thank you for all that you've done this week. You've been so good to us. Would you bless today in a very unusual way, we ask in Jesus' name, amen. All right. What did the organ say? Sit down. Okay, that was a little shaky. Now, what's tomorrow night? It is our final program, and we have the final episode of Wonder World tomorrow night, and we've got the bounce houses and all kinds of refreshments, and most exciting of all, we have Mr. Malone with us again, our resident scientist here, and he's going to have a great time sharing things tomorrow night that you don't want to miss. You'll be getting a gift and all. And one of the things we're going to do is we are going to sing the theme song. Now, what time does it start tomorrow night?
At
7 o'clock. All right, 7 o'clock. So we want to encourage you to be here. And so as we begin, at some point you're going to hear the organ, and I want you ready. That was pretty good. Well, let's practice one more time. Listen. Okay, you ready? All right, let's sing the theme song, and let's do it better than we've ever done it. Ready? Our Wonder World. Everyone can come to Wonder World. Everyone can join the fun for boys and girls. There are toys to explore, Bible stories here and more. Your adventure is in store at Wonder World. Everyone can come to Wonder World. Everyone can join the fun for boys and girls. Wonder World. That was excellent. Now let's just think it's tomorrow night, and we want to show everyone how all that's gone on. So let's sing it from way in deep, and let's sing it the best that we've ever done it. Ready? Everyone, good. Wonder World. Everyone can join the fun for boys and girls. laboratories to explore, Bible stories here and more. Your adventure is in store at Wonder World. Everyone can come to Wonder World. Everyone can come. It's Wonder Boys and Girls. Wonder World. Great job. All right, good to have you here today, and we have a special day planned. And of course, are we ready to go to the lab of Wonder World out there in outer space? You ready? All right, be real quiet, and we'll see what happens today.
You're back!
Boys and girls, welcome back to the space station. Our space station.
Well, it's not ours technically yet, but it soon will be. Yes, today they thought that they had us licked yesterday, but today we are back. Just like your scariest dream, we are back.
That's right. We're the mad scientists. You recognize us from the wanted poster?
I am the beast. Me, really bad. Me double park in every parking lot I'm in.
And I am bigger. And I'm even badder than that. You know all those spam calls you get on your cell phone? That's me!
And if you think that's bad, I am the mad scientist, Dr. Discord. And I am so crazy and so bad. You know when you go to bed at night and your hair looks fine? And then when you wake up, it's all like mine is? Guess who?
And now we're back to surprise the good guys.
We steal the cargo and then take over the space station. This is fun, boys and girls. Do you guys want to come up and help us?
Yeah!
Wait a minute! I think I hear somebody coming. Let's go and hide.
Welcome back to Wonder World, boys and girls. Dr. Kepler has given us a tour, and let me tell you, it's truly amazing.
And now, our next stop of the tour. This way, please. This is our terrarium, Captain. This is where we study the effects of outer space on plant life. We have 213 species.
Truly amazing, Doctor. How long you said you lived on this space station?
Oh, over 100 years. But I feel younger by the day. The anti-aging effects of living in space. Isn't that right, Dr. Faraday?
And that's a tree.
Oh, yes, that's right. Isn't that right, my friend?
Kepler, that's a skeleton.
Oh.
Dr. Faraday is in the lab.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Dr. Kepler, you may not have great vision or great eyesight, but you have enormous vision.
Well, the next stop on our tour, step right this way, please.
Goody.
This is the gravitron. Now, the gravitron regulates the gravitational pressure on the space station, making it very similar to the Earth. And it is controlled by this command center right here. Good.
Do you control the entire space station from here, Dr. Kepler?
Oh no! I only control a few of these things here. Only Robo is intelligent enough to operate the entire command center.
Wow, look at that nifty big red button.
No touching, Oswald. Move along. He's our summer intern. He's not house trained yet.
But he did do a great job in fighting off the mad scientists when they tried to steal our valuable cargo. He beat them all with just a pool noodle.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you, how'd you do that? I've never seen moves like that, man.
I've been studying pool jutsu. Hi-ya!
Wow.
Boys, I have some great news for all of you.
What is it?
Dr. Faraday and I are working on a special recipe. We're gonna whip up something really special.
Oh no, not more space paste again.
It's different.
Oh, great.
Oh, great.
Like actual food this time?
And Captain, I have even better news. I have finally succeeded in eliminating the virus from the computer that the mad scientists uploaded into your ship.
Hooray!
Now you can go home.
Yes, you are an amazing genius, Dr. Faraday.
Oh, it was nothing. It wasn't rocket science.
No, it literally was rocket science.
But we can't leave you here. There's bad guys on board this space station.
I thought you might say that. Therefore, I have made a gift for you in my lab. Yes, here you go. Yeah.
I'll take this.
Oh.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's blaster.
How many did you make?
I'm sorry, I only had time to make 2. What does it say on it?
Bigger,
there?
better blaster. Wow. Neato.
Yeah, this is no problem. We only need 2. Oswald's just the summer intern.
Yeah, guaranteed to repel rodents, pests, and mad scientists. Satisfaction guaranteed. Wow, thanks a lot.
That's
Now-
perfect. Yeah, we'll just set the... Yeah.
Wait. These blasters are very, very powerful, and they're very dangerous. Please be careful. Don't let anyone get a hold of them.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Hey,
Safe place
we'll
there.
just stick them right here back to this tree where it's a really safe place, okay?
Yeah.
Like right here, like that. Yeah, that's a really safe place.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Well, they'll be there. They're the same place.
This is our chance. Grab those blasters.
The epic space station now.
Yeah, hand over the keys.
Do something, Oswald! You're the guy that's been messing up our whole week. Hands up in the air. Back up.
Okie dokie, that's okay. Super, no problem. I'm harmless.
Be careful, don't touch any buttons.
Grab those blasters.
Yeah, will do. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Oh.
Oswald, you're a real hero. You know that? Boys and girls, don't you think he's a real hero? Give it up for Oswald. Get back. Oswald.
You haven't seen the last of Dr. Discord. We will be back.
How did you do that, Oswald?
Good work, Oswald.
Sorry, I hope I didn't break anything.
No, you saved the day, my boy.
You altered the gravitron speed just enough to incapacitate
Wow.
the intruders. Amazing. How did you learn to do that?
I don't know. I just read a lot of spaceship comic books.
Oh.
I need some more of that myself.
Good.
Wow, Oswald, it's amazing.
We're going to the kitchen to make something to celebrate. Come on.
Yes, I'll help you. We'll have a party.
But the bad guys are still on board the space station. Will we be able to have a party tomorrow, boys and girls? Or the nasty bad scientist going to ruin everything? Come back tomorrow and find out.
time to smile here this morning, boys and girls. How many of you brought your smile? Let me see now. In order to smile, you've got to have brushed your teeth. Who brushed their teeth this morning? Did you brush your teeth this morning? All right. I was talking to some boy this week, said he didn't have a toothbrush for a whole week. That's terrible. Anyone not have a toothbrush? There you go, young lady. Anyone else not have a toothbrush? There you go. Now, I've got some other little special prizes with me here this morning. Let's see here. I've got some more of these planets. Let's see about that. Okay. Here you go. All right. Bouncing planets. Here's some more there. Okay. And I even found some candy bars this morning. Ooh, that looks pretty good. Okay, who's got, here you go. All right, who else is here? Let's see here. Who's got, here you go, big fella. Okay, and how about right here? And right there. Okay, all right. A lot of good reasons to smile here at Bible school, and here is a key reason for today. Today is Dads and Granddads Day. Let's hear it for the dads and the granddads. Where's Dad? Where's Granddad? Let's see, waving some hands, men. Good to have you with us here today. Some of you came just because one of your kids invited you. And we've got a special plan for you. In fact, later on today, men, you are going to get an absolutely free lunch. It actually does exist at Wonder World. So we're glad that you have come. Now, in just a few minutes, we're going to have our fourth day of our elemental explosion, our competition between the boys and the girls. And ladies, I know you're trying to come back and tie this. There's still opportunity to go back into the lobby there and purchase one of these objects to put on our scale. So if you haven't done that yet, men, women, boys, girls, you still got a chance for that as we have our announcements here this morning. Here's our memory verse. Colossians 1 says, "For by him were all things created. He is before all things." Let's say that together. Ready? For by him were all things created. He is before all things. That's an amazing verse. It tells us Jesus existed before everything, and he made everything. Now look, we've been looking at some of these strange creatures that he made, and let's look at a couple of more here this morning, find out which is your favorite. This is the lowland streaked tenrec. Guess what island he lives on? He lives on the island of Madagascar, and he's really strange because he can sometimes look like a rat, sometimes look like a hedgehog. He's got these pointy, spiny things that keep him protected. He's the tenrec of Madagascar. Here is our second one today. This one you'll really like. This one is Horsfield's tarsier, not too big. This is in the lands of Malaysia, Indonesia, and he can turn his head 180 degrees all the way around, and he only eats at night. That's probably why he's got those big eyes to see. So, what is your favorite here this morning? The streaked tenrec or Horsfield's tarsier? Let's try that. Who will vote for the tenrec with a cheer? 1, 2, 3, tenrec. All right, let's try the tarsier. Ready? 1, 2, 3, tarsier. Absolutely no competition there. That guy's too cute not to cheer for him. All right, let's find out who is our king and queen of Bible school here today. You all have been bringing so many guests and visitors. Some of you have been working even for weeks ahead of time, inviting folks to come, folks you knew, folks you don't even know. And so a lot of good work has been done. Let's find out who our king and queen of Wonder World are today. I'm going to start with our king today. Our king for today here is going to be Mr. Caleb Mueller. Where is Caleb? Come right on up here. Good job, Mr. Caleb. Here is your certificate, and here is your envelope. This has got Robert's Custard and McDonald's and Burger King. You like ice cream? Okay, choose your favorite soda over there. There you go. And we also have got your own New Testament and this really cool geode. You break that open with a hammer, and inside is an amazing gemstone. Okay, let's smile here for our king. There you go. Oh, good job, Mr. Caleb. All right, now for our queen here on Thursday, Queen Miss Emma Van Gelderen. Where is Emma? Where is Emma? Here she comes. Good job, Miss Emma. I know you're working hard. Here is your certificate. There is your Bible and your envelope filled with all those coupons. Choose your favorite soda. There we go. And here is your own geode there. And let's take a picture of our queen for the day. Nice, there you go. All right, good job, Miss Emma. All right. Okay, a few other announcements here. Now keep in mind, we're keeping track of the king and queen of the entire week. And we're going to give away this Bible study. This study Bible for kids, we're going to give it away Friday night. That's tomorrow night. We're also going to give away another one of the books written by our scientist, Mr. Bruce Malone, Explore the World. Those are going to be given to the boy and the girl, the king and queen of the entire week, and that's tomorrow night at our closing program. So I want to make sure you understand, tomorrow night is our Wonder World finale, and it is right back in here at 7 o'clock. So you need to get here with your parents or grandparents or aunties, uncles. Get them here. You'll register in the lobby or check in the lobby about 6:40, 6:45. Then you'll be seated right in here for our final episode of Wonder World. Also then, our scientist Bruce Malone is going to have another final fantastic presentation and talk about the gospel. Then we're going to have ice cream and cookies and fair games, and all the inflatables, part of the daily fair, will be out there. We've got a special gift for you that you'll get when you check in. So that's tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Get here about 6:40, and you'll be ready for a very special night. Also, you can come dressed up as your favorite Wonder World character. Maybe it's Captain Cosmo, or maybe you want to be like Dr. Discord. I don't know. But come and dressed up like your favorite character, and you can come up on the stage after the program with your family, and you can take a picture together on Wonder World. So that's also part of tomorrow. Now we're earning Wonder Points just by coming, by bringing visitors. If your dad or granddad or uncle came with you today, you got 300 extra points. We're adding those up, and tomorrow at the Daily Fair, you'll get your prize choice. So be back tomorrow for our prizes at the Daily Fair. Now, Sunday is a special day here back at Falls Baptist Church. We want to make sure you make your plans to join us for it's not a final day, it's every Sunday at Falls Baptist, and we want you to experience it. For all of you kids, 1st grade through 6th grade, we've got a cereal breakfast blast for kids this Sunday at 9 a.m. What is your favorite cereal? There's a good chance it'll be waiting for you at the cereal breakfast blast on Sunday morning. Okay, so that's 9 o'clock. Also part of Sunday morning is a specialty pancake picnic for teenagers, small group Bible study for adults, nurseries and childcare, and all of that is at 9 o'clock. And it's actually every Sunday, and we want you to experience that. Some of you have come and gotten to know us for the first time, and please come and join us on Sunday for a very special morning. And in the morning service at 10:45, our very own pastor will be giving us good Bible teaching and a beautiful service there at 10:45 right here in our auditorium. So make your plans. Join us this Sunday. All right. There's some souvenirs in the back lobby. Some of you have gotten to love Wonder World. There's a t-shirt, a water bottle, and other things that you can pick up just for your own fun. Later on in just a minute, we'll be going to the Creation Cinema and the Discovery Lab. I heard our scientist, NASA scientist Dr. Kojima, is going to be shooting some things sky high outside today. He absolutely loves rockets, so that today is the rocket day at Discovery Lab. And then we're going to have our Answers for Life workshops here today as well for men and women. All right, now is the time for our day number 4. Will it be the boys or the girls winning for our competition?
All right, boys and girls, the boys have 2, and how many do the girls have? 1. Are the girls going to be able to catch up today? Who's going to win today? Well, let's find out what's going to happen. All right, let's start with Junior 4. Junior 4, you come up. Junior 4. Junior 4. Junior 4. All right, Primary 3. Primary 3. Primary 3. Wait for your to be called. Primary 3. Primary 2. Primary 2. Primary 2. All right. Primary 2. Are you up here? Primary 2. Okay, let's see. Why don't we see who's ahead at this point? Whoa, the girls are winning so far. Let's do Junior 5. Junior 5. Junior 5. That's right. Come on up, Junior 5. Junior 5. Primary 1. Primary 1. Primary 1. Primary 1. Okay, Primary 1. And Junior 6. Junior 6. Junior 6. Final department, Junior 6. Junior, this is going to be close, boys and girls. This is really close. Yeah, I don't know who's going to win. I can't predict here. This really is close. We are going. All right. That's everyone. Let's find out who won Thursday of our elemental explosion. It goes to the girls. Oh my! The girls won again. That means the boys have 2, and how many do the girls have? 2. Wow. So the girls, you could actually win tomorrow, but are you boys going to let them? Whoever wins tomorrow is going to win the whole elemental explosion penny parade. So make sure you're prepared. And that was closer than it looked. That was amazing. All right, boys and girls, good job. Okay, let's be nice and quiet here because we have our special treat again. We have had a wonderful time with scientist Bruce Malone, man who for many years was with Dow Chemical and has now for a number of years is the head of a wonderful ministry that speaks about truth, and it's one that God has used. He's talked to hundreds of thousands of people, written a number of books, and so let's give a big welcome to Brother Malone.
Oh, I love science, but I love the Bible even more because it tells me how to understand what I'm seeing and when I'm doing science, how to interpret it. So we've talked about how God is the only way we can know why life exists and where everything came from. And we've talked about how the beautiful and wonderful, amazing animals had to have been made by Him. But now we've got to understand, what about all the rock layers in the earth and all the fossils, and how do the dinosaurs fit in? How does all this stuff fit together with what God has told us? In the first question, if you want to go ahead and bring up the screen, if it's working. Let's see. Hang on a second. What I need to do is close my presentation and then reopen it. Okay. Okay, see if this works. There it is. The first question we're going to ask is, did monkeys turn into people? That's what all the textbooks say. That's what the schools say. That's what the museums say. That's what lots and lots of movies say. How do we know whether it's true? How do we know if that happened or not? We do it by observing and understanding the world around us. So why do many, many people believe that monkeys or apes have turned into people? Because they look at the rock layers, like the Grand Canyon. It's almost a mile deep, and there's layer after layer after layer of rocks. And when they look at those rocks, they say, well, they must be really, really old, and they find dead animals in those rocks. And they find lots of different like skulls of monkeys, like this. This is a picture from the Smithsonian Institute. It's the most famous museum in the world. And they show these little skulls of little tiny monkeys with little brains. And then there's bigger monkeys with bigger brains. And then there's monkeys that are kind of not, they've got brains bigger than monkeys, but not as big as people. And then they've got skulls that look more like people than like monkeys. And they line them up and they say, see, there it is. That's science. That proves that monkeys turned into people. Now, we're going to come back and look at that later, but that's the kind of evidence that people show to try to teach us that God didn't make us, monkeys turned into us. And here's what these scientists forget about. They ignore that there's ever been a flood called Noah's flood on this planet. They pretend that that never happened. And then they try to explain the rocks and the fossils without it. Now, has anybody ever seen a picture of Noah's Ark that looks like this? It's kind of cute, isn't it? It's a little teeny boat with some animals on the boat. Or maybe here's another one. Could all the different animals on the earth fit on that teeny little boat? No, they couldn't. There's too many different kinds of animals. But that's the kind of boat that we often show. Or here's another one. Even that boat, it's not big enough to fit all the different kind of animals. But that's not what the Bible tells us this boat looked like. This boat was as tall as this ceiling with 3 different floors. And it was as wide as this room. And it was 500 feet long, like 5 times longer than this room. It could have held 20,000 different kind of animals. That's every species of reptile, every species of mammal, every species of bird we've ever found could have fit in only 40% of the space on that ark. This is more like what it probably looked like. It was enormous. There's no reason anybody would build a boat like that if Noah's flood was just some little local flood. The animals would have just moved. See, the Bible describes that the entire earth was flooded. The whole earth was destroyed by this flood. And God tells us it happened about 4,500 years ago. The whole world was devastated with water. And by the way, in the Bible, in chapter 7, it says, every high hill under the whole heaven over earth was covered by water. And God said he would never, ever, ever, ever send another flood upon the earth to destroy it. There have been thousands of floods. So either this flood was very different than any other flood that ever happened, or God is a liar. Who thinks God is a liar? Nobody. He can't. So we know something very different happened, and God told us about it. And if we ignore what God told us when we look at the rock layers, we're going to misinterpret them. We're going to get it all wrong. We're going to tell the wrong story about the past. You see, this flood would have killed every animal that wasn't living in the water, like fish, or safe on the ark. They all would have been buried, and they would have turned into fossils. All over the world, we'd find layers of rock filled with dead animals buried underwater. That's exactly what we find. We would have find huge rock layers laid down perfectly flat across entire continents. There's no place on earth where you have thousands of miles where it's perfectly flat. But we find rock layers perfectly flat across entire continents. As waves filled with sediment, tidal waves 1,000 feet deep washed across the continents. And as they slowed down, they dropped sediment that turned into rock layers. every plant would have been ripped up, every tree, every blade of grass, and it would have been buried in the midst of all this dirt, and it would have turned into coal. We find coal seams all over the earth on that same general layer of rock. And then the flood lasted not just 40 days and 40 nights, it lasted an entire year. The ark didn't land until month number 7. Noah sat there for 5 more months while things dried out and plants started to grow. And then after a year, he let the animals off. And the continents, during the flood, after months 5 or 6, they started to raise up and the ocean started to load down. And the water rushed off and carved out all the river valleys and the Grand Canyons and the Mississippi Valley and the Amazon Valley and left these little rivers as all the water flushed back down into the oceans. See, that's what we would understand if we trust the Bible to mean what it says. And after the flood, there would have been an ice age because lots of warm water evaporating, covering the earth with clouds, would have had snow coming down for month after month, year after year while the oceans cooled. Now, fossils are really cool. This is a fossil of an animal that used to live in the ocean. Now, it's hard as rock. Ouch! When I hit my head with it, it hurts. But when a scientist finds a fossil, a dead animal in the rocks, and he digs it up, and maybe it's like a seashell. If I hold it to my ear, maybe it'll tell me what happened. I'm going to listen really close. Let's see what it says. 100 million years ago, I was crawling on the bottom of the ocean. Oh, really? What happened? A rock hit me in the head and I died. Do you think it really talked? No. See, the rocks can't talk. We have to interpret them. We have to make up a story. How did they get there? And there's 2 stories. One is that what God has told us. There was a world-covering flood that buried everything and they turned to fossils. The other is that over millions and billions of years, each rock layer slowly formed and slowly the animals died and slowly they turned into fossils, and that's why we find them. So how do we know which one is true? Most people believe if you find a fossil, it proves evolution. But there's big problems kids aren't told about. For instance, we find fossilized wood, trees that have turned into solid rock all over the world. Millions of pieces of trees are found on every continent, in every country, all over the world, almost every country. Wood that has turned into a solid rock. Now, when a tree falls in the forest and it lays there, does it ever turn into a solid rock? No, it never happens. It turns back into dirt. If you have a fish tank and a fish dies and drops to the bottom of the fish tank, does your fish turn into a solid rock fossil? No, it never happens. In a lake, in the oceans, we don't see fish turning into rocks. We don't see trees turning into fossilized trees. It doesn't happen. Because to make a fossil, you have to have the right recipe. To make a cake, you've got to have a cake recipe. To make a fossil, you have to have a fossil recipe. You have to have something that has died, and it has to be buried really deep. Otherwise, it gets eaten up by other things. It has to get covered up really fast by lots of other dirt. Otherwise, it decays and gets eaten, disappears. You have to have water filled with minerals percolating down through it. And then those minerals exchange with the carbon in the parts of its body and the calcium from the bones, and it turns it into rock. And there has to be no air. You have to exclude air to keep bacteria and stuff from deteriorating it. That's exactly what was happening all over the world during Noah's flood. The very fact we have billions of fossils on every continent of the world is an indication not of huge periods of time, but of a worldwide flood. See, fossils don't take a long time. A miner left his hat in a mine over in Australia in 1930 during the Great Depression. They shut down the mine. They opened it up in 1960, 30 years later. The leather had turned to solid rock in 30 years because of all the minerals in the water. I want to tell you about another kind of fossil. It's one of the most common kinds of fossils, and I'm holding it here in my hand. Now, some people look at this and they say, oh, that looks kind of like a snail or something. It's so common you can go on eBay and you can buy pieces of it for $10. There's millions, probably billions of them all over the earth. Let me tell you what it is. You are looking at fossilized dinosaur poop or other animal poop. Okay? Now, it's turned to solid rock. Everything that was there before is gone. It's turned to rock. Now, when you ask a question, children, when your dog or your cat poops in the yard, does their poop turn into a solid rock? It never happens. And yet this is the most common fossil all over the world. It's gone within days. It turns back into dust. So the whole world had to have been covered very rapidly by water and sediment to have turned these things and made them happen. Here's a fish that is perfectly fossilized. It's been smashed flat. Look what's in its mouth. It is getting ready to eat its lunch. Right in the middle of eating lunch, whomp, a wave filled with sediment packs it down and it gets turned into a fossil. Does it take you 1,000,000 years to eat your lunch? No, it takes minutes. See, these things happen fast. See, God put evidence all over here that He has judged sin. Sin brings death. And all we have to do is look in the rock layers and know God will and does judge sin. And that's why those rock layers exist. They're being misinterpreted. So here's what God tells us. In the very 5th chapter of the Bible, He says Adam and Eve were the first people, and they had a son about 130 years later, and that son had a son, and so on, all the way from Adam to Abraham. And if you add it up, you get about 2,000 years. And then, and here's what it looks like. This is how long they lived. They lived very long originally because there weren't so many genetic mistakes and problems. But every generation has more issues and more diseases and more mistakes because copies never get better. They always get a little bit worse with time. And by the time Noah came around, Adam's son was still alive. Noah talked to the son, Seth, of the very first human being. So Noah would have known the things that God had told him in the Garden of Eden. And he had over 100 years to build this ark. And Jesus said, have you not read at the beginning, not 5 billion years later, at the beginning of creation, He made human beings, male and female. So the Bible is very clear about how old things are. Now here's the confusion. I want to help you understand the difference between what the world says and what God has told us. If you think of this one sheet of toilet paper, tissue paper, as 1,000,000 years, this represents 1,000,000 years. God tells us creation happened less than 10,000 years ago. That's like one tiny little corner of this. So that is how old God says creation is. And there's lots of evidence for that. 9 out of 10 ways of dating how old this planet is indicate a very recent creation. Very few would tell us it's very old, and they have lots of problems and assumptions. Now, I want to help you understand how wrong the world is and how long 1,000,000,000 years is. Okay? If this is 1,000,000 years, and I need a special gun to do this. I brought a gun today, except this is a toilet paper gun, okay? If one of these squares is 1,000,000 years, let me show you what 1,000,000,000 years looks like. Okay, now that, everybody sit back down. This is how old the Bible tells us creation is. All of that is how old the world tells us creation is. They can't both be true. And what we're showing is that by looking at the fossils And by understanding how dating works, we can test it and we can understand which one really is the truth. But that means we have to believe God exists. Otherwise, the only thing left is we're forced to believe, oh, I guess things really are old, even though the evidence doesn't fit it. Now, a few other things that people talk about when we talk about Noah's flood and the ark. First of all, what kind of animals would have been on the ark? Well, God said, every land animal that breathes air. Insects, they don't breathe air. He wouldn't have had to bring all the different kind of insects. The eggs would have survived. Whales and seals and things that live in the water wouldn't have needed to have been brought on the ark. God said bring 2 of every sort of thing to keep them alive, a male and a female, so they can make babies and populate the earth after the flood. And God, you'll notice at the bottom, God is the one who sent the animals to the ark. Because Noah wouldn't have had to have brought like 2 Irish setters and 2 dachshunds and 2 St. Bernards. Those are all just different breeds of dogs, and the information for all the varieties of dogs were in like 2 gray wolves. And then they varied. And only God would have known which 2 animals to send that would create all the variety of that kind of animal later. So, there's a dog kind, and then he might have had a certain kind of bird that would really create lots of varieties. And there would have been reptiles and cute little koala bears and flying squirrels, but maybe all the squirrels were represented by just 2 squirrels and frogs and so on. But what about the dinosaurs? You think Noah brought dinosaurs, great big huge dinosaurs, they're so big their heads would stick through the ceiling. Do you think he brought those on the ark? Well, God said 2 of every kind of land animal. Did dinosaurs live on the land? Then God said, are they a kind of animal? A dinosaur is not a kind of animal? Yeah, a dinosaur is a kind of animal. So there would have been dinosaurs on the ark. Did you know that it talks about dinosaurs in the Bible? Some of you do, but a lot of you don't. Here's where. It's in the book of Job, one of the oldest books in the Bible. Here's what it says. In Job, God is talking, and he's describing an animal to Job that Job has seen. Now, Job lived after the flood. He was one of the ancestors of Noah. Okay? And he says, this is an animal that eats grass. Well, that's true. Many dinosaurs ate grass. God says he's incredibly strong. And he has force in his stomach and his legs. And he has a tail like an enormous cedar tree. And his bones are like bars of iron. God's pointing out the biggest, most amazing animal in all of the world to Noah, to Job after the flood. Now, in many Bibles it says, oh, this must be an elephant. Well, here's an enormous tail. Is that what an elephant looks like? No, it's obviously not an elephant. How about a hippopotamus? Is that what a hippopotamus looks like? No. Well, how about a dinosaur? Does that make sense? It does. But how could you put a dinosaur on the ark? Because Noah wasn't stupid. Dinosaurs are big, but this is what their eggs look like. Or a little baby dinosaur might not be any bigger than this. He would have brought young dinosaurs, not really, really great big huge dinosaurs, so they could have babies and repopulate. And by the way, there are not just the Bible, but we hear about dinosaurs all over the place. First, let me show you the skull. Now, if I had never mentioned dinosaurs and you were reading books about all sorts of things in the Middle Ages, what do you think that might be called? What does that kind of look like? A dragon. Doesn't that look like what you would think a dragon would look like? It does, doesn't it? Pictures we see of dragons, they kind of look like this. This is an exact replica of an actual dinosaur skull. The word dinosaur was not invented until 1841. The word hadn't even been made up. Nobody had ever used the word dinosaur before 1841. But the word that was used throughout cultures, throughout the Bible, throughout time, all the way from the flood, is the word dragon. Dragons are referred to all over the place throughout human literature. Here's a historian from the year 70 years after Jesus was born, almost 2,000 years ago. This is a man who wrote about history. He said in his book, Africa produces elephants, really big animals. But it is India that produces the largest elephant, and that's true. Indian elephants are a little bigger than African elephants, and also dragons. So this historian 2,000 years ago saw elephants, and then he saw something else that wasn't an elephant, and he said, it's a dragon. It was probably a dinosaur. Noah brought them on the ark. We find the bones in the ground because they were buried during the flood, but then they repopulated, and they've went extinct since then. But they keep showing up in history. Here's ancient drawings from caves and walls in the United States, where Indians have drawn things that look just like dinosaurs. We found bones that aren't fossilized. They still have original stuff in them. We find artifacts and burial stones in cultures all over the world that look like dinosaurs. And we find unfossilized stuff I'll show you at the very end. Now, if you go to my table later, you'll see this. This is a burial stone found in Peru that shows what looks exactly like a triceratops in an ancient Peruvian tomb. Now, if dinosaurs died 60 million years ago and no human being's ever seen one, what's this doing in a tomb that's a couple thousand years old? It's because they saw this thing. And by the way, these can't be fakes because in 1571, a historian from Spain came over to South America, and in his writings, he referred to burial stones with strange dragon-like creatures. So these are man's knowledge of dinosaurs that were alive after the flood. Here's another one of those burial stones, look like an apatosaurus. See those little circular things? Those are on these burial stones. It wasn't until the 1980s we started to find dinosaur skin that showed these circular openings. So the world around us, they'll just say, oh, anytime we see a dinosaur on a burial stone, it must be a fake. But they ignore all the evidence because they've got to have the millions of years to leave God out. And Christians get pulled into this too because they're educated in our schools. They assume the time frame is right, so they assume the Bible's wrong. Well, when do you start believing it and when do you stop believing it? It's a big problem because we ignore the truth. Here's ancient carvings that show dinosaur-like creatures. Here is a carving in Australia that shows a plesiosaur-type creature, even with its internal organs. Here's a carving in a temple in Cambodia. Every other animal carved on this temple is a real creature. And right in the middle is something that looks exactly like a stegosaurus because it's real and they saw it. They've just went extinct like lots of other creatures. Okay. So the last thing I want to do is God has made the truth to all of us so clear in just the last few decades. I think as the deception around us gets worse and worse, and more people get convinced the Bible can't be trusted, the Bible's not true, the Bible's just full of religion, it has nothing to do with science or history, God works to make sure we know the truth. And then we have to choose. Are we going to choose what God's told us? Are we going to choose to trust Him? Or are we going to choose to just go along with the crowd and assume everything we're being told is true? Because when people are told things over and over and over again, you get to the point you can't even see any other possibility. Well, about 15 years ago, a paleontologist, when she was digging dinosaurs in Montana, she found the bones of a Tyrannosaurus rex. And as the big femur, the big leg bone was lifted out, it broke. And she said, well, it smells a little bit like rotted garbage. But if it's 60 million years old, I shouldn't still smell like garbage. So she got permission to kind of dissolve away some of the stuff. She spent 5 years because she kept finding things that she knew couldn't be there. But she finally published a report. And one of the things she said was this. When she looked what was inside of that bone, she said, I got goosebumps. It was exactly like looking at a slice of modern bone. I couldn't believe it. Those bones, they're 65 million years old. See, she's been trained. Evolution's a fact, evolution's a fact. Millions of years, billions of years, millions of years, billions of years. You hear it thousands of times. So everything you see, you just interpret it as if that's true. So she said, I couldn't believe it. It's that old. How could blood cells survive that long? And that's a picture of what she saw. I mean, here, I'll show a couple more pictures. There was tissue so soft you could stretch it and it would snap right back like a rubber band. There was undecayed things like blood vessels, collagen, which is what holds bones together. There were measurable amounts of DNA and carbon-14. Within 1 million years, there shouldn't be a molecule of carbon-14 left, or any fragment of DNA, because we know how fast these things disappear. Just oxygen makes them disappear. And these things were still there. There's a blood cell she found with blood cells still inside of it. And everybody has confirmed it had to have been from the dinosaur. We're now finding soft, undecayed tissue in fossils all over the world, undecayed proteins. We measure how fast they disappear. We know they can't be there if those bones are millions of years old, but they are there. But if all this stuff was buried during Noah's flood, it's only 4,500 years old, and we'd expect to find this stuff. You see, the truth is very apparent. If those bones aren't millions of years old, those rock layers aren't millions of years old, and therefore the idea that a bacteria could all by itself, with just random mistakes, change into like fish, and then change into amphibians, and then change into monkeys, and then change into people, it can't be true, because those rock layers aren't that old. And God's made the truth apparent. Now I want to come back to those skulls. We find all these variations of things, like lots of variations of different animals. Now let me show you how people get it all wrong. I've got some skulls down here, okay? And let's suppose I've been trained, the rock layers are really, really old, and I'm digging and digging and I'm digging down deep in the rock layers, and then I find a skull. Nobody's ever found a skull like this. You find an original fossil, you can name it for yourself. So I'm going to call this the Bruceosaurus. Okay, so here's the Bruceosaurus, and I'm going to be famous, but I wonder where it came from. So now I start digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and let's suppose next I find a skull that looks like this. Now you'll notice it's got the same sort of shape, but they're both adults and they're a completely different size. Sort of similar, but very different. Where did they come from? And I think, well, this was deeper in the rock, so it must be older. It must have been buried first, long ago. And maybe, I'm sorry, this one is deepest. And maybe this one lived where there are lots of trees, and if it was smaller, then it could hide better. So the smaller, when this one had babies, if they were smaller, they could hide better, and when they had babies, they could hide better. And eventually, it turned into a different kind of creature because of evolution, slow changes over lots of time. So I keep digging. And now I find, where is it? Yep, I find this one. Now look at this one. He's really cool. And he's kind of higher up, but he's got a much bigger brain and his teeth stick way out. So he looks different, doesn't he? Like a different kind of animal. Where did he come from? But he's similar. So I just make up a story. I say, well, maybe this guy learned to use his mouth to dig under the rocks and find like little grubs and insects. And the longer his jaw got, the better he could dig. So he had an advantage. And his brain got bigger so he could learn how to do things better. And this one slowly changed a little bit at a time over millions of years, and it evolved and it turned into that kind of creature. See how I'm making up a story, and it kind of explains it all. And then I find the neatest one at all. Look at the size of the brain on that guy. Here is the original one. Here's that one, okay? And he's like farther up. And I'm thinking, little changes and he got a bigger brain. Because he's so small, he needs the big brain to survive and escape so something doesn't eat him. It's like, this guy would eat that guy. So he's really, really smart because he has a big brain. And see, I found lots of different skulls with lots of different shapes, and I've used evolution to explain how they all happened. But what I just did was make up a story. No one was there to see any of this happen. I'm assuming those rock layers took a long time to happen because I ignore that there was a worldwide flood on the planet. And there's lots of evidence for that. It's just ignored. Let me show you what these animals are. The first one was a gray wolf. Now we know every breed of dog on the planet came from the genetic information inside of the gray wolf. No evolution happened. It's just the characteristics needed to change the body shape and the color and the size blended together to form a different kind of animal. The information was all there in the wolf. The second creature I showed you was a fox. The fox is just a variation of the wolf. The third one is a bulldog. It didn't evolve. The information for the bulldog came from the gray wolf. And the last one isn't the Einstein of these animals. It's not brilliant because it's got a big brain. It's a stupid little chihuahua. It wouldn't survive for 2 months out in the woods. You see, they're all there because God created the dog kind with a variety to create all sorts of variety. The same thing's true of all these skulls you hear about. They're not apes turning into people. They're variations of apes that got captured during the flood. And later, they're degenerations and variations of people that were buried up high near the end of the flood. Apes have always been apes, and people have always been people, and that's what the evidence and the genetics show us. And here's our verse for today. God told us this, okay? From the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Repeat that with me. From the beginning of creation, God made male and female. A girl can't become a boy can't become a girl. God made us one or the other. And if we try to change it, we're shaking our fist in the face of our Creator and saying, I don't even want you to tell me who I am. And we can't change even one cell in our body, no matter what we do to try to make it happen. So always remember, you can trust God's Word, and He's shown us the truth. And the rock layers testify to it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. This is all so very helpful. Well, we look forward now to the rest of our morning, so all the adults can go to the workshops, ladies and men, so we'll dismiss.